And joining me now on Skype to talk more about today's decision is Andrea Picciotti-Bayer, legal advisor for the Catholic Association Foundation. Andrea, welcome back. So good to see you.
Thank you, Tracy, for having me. I wish I had better news.
I know. Well, I want to start out, Andrea, by getting your reaction to today's decision and what it means.
You know, reading through the multiple opinions in this case, it really shows you how confusing the abortion issue is, even for the courts. As you'd mentioned before, the four justices in the plurality, led by Justice Breyer, tied on to a case that was decided back in 2016. Chief Justice Roberts joined in on that, on the concept of stare decisis, basically that the precedent of the court needs to be respected. What I think we should see in all of this is a silver lining that four of the dissenting justices wrote vigorously against this travesty of ruling unconstitutional the Louisiana admitting privileges case. And so I think that there's a lot of hope moving forward.
Andrea, you know, as you mentioned, also as Mark mentioned in his report, Chief Justice John Roberts, who once again sided with the court's more liberal justices, cited that precedent in the earlier case in Texas as the basis for his vote. But are the laws in question really the same here?
You know, they are the same in that they do require abortionists performing in their abortions in the state to have admitting privileges within 30 miles of a hospital where the abortions are being performed. But what's very interesting and important to note is that Louisiana developed a very strong factual record to support this admitting privileges law. And Justice Gorsuch, in his dissenting opinion, points out all the very important considerations that the state lawmakers had in mind when they came up with this rule.
And as the court is certainly divided on this issue, that's pretty obvious. In fact, Justice Clarence Thomas criticized the decision, writing, "Our abortion precedents are grievously wrong and should be overruled." Can we talk a little bit more about this divisiveness? And does it seem like things are becoming a little more strained when it comes to abortion?
Well, I think that the court has always struggled on the issue of abortion, and this case is a perfect example of how there's so much misunderstanding about the truth related to life and related to the rule of law. What is very important to know is that the four dissenting justices, again, in very cogent argumentation, in very much tied to the rule of law, said that there is an important opportunity that needs to come again before the court to get its abortion jurisprudence back on the rails, consistent with all the other standards, especially regarding who can go to court and how we can make sure that abortionists and their centers don't muddy the waters anymore and frustrate lawmakers trying to protect women.
Well, Andrea, we don't have a lot of time left, but I'm curious, what, if any, influence do you think the rulings that we're seeing from the High Court will have in this election year?
You know, I really think that they should have an important encouragement for people to get out and vote. All pro-life people know that until Roe versus Wade is overturned, there's a constitutional declaration that there's a right to an abortion. That's a questionable decision that was made several decades ago and needs to be revisited. And it looks like at least four of the justices are willing to entertain that if a case comes before them.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for your time today. We always appreciate you coming on and giving us your insight on these matters. Andrea Picciotti-Bayer, legal advisor for the Catholic Association Foundation. Thank you again, Andrea.
Thank you, Tracy.